Welcome back to Factorio Space Age. My name is Nilaus, and we are continuing on our journey to look at legendary signs and also look at interesting spaceship designs. And today, well, it might be logical to look at purple signs, but we're not going to look at purple signs. We're actually going to look at blue signs, and also sort of subconsciously or secondarily also looking at yellow signs, because if we look at those good sciences here, they require some sulfur and they require some advanced circuits. The engines are whatever. If we look at the yellow ones, they require some purple science and some flying robot frames that will require. The flying robot frames require something, a lubricant. So both of those means oils in space. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at whether it's possible to make oil in space and if it is good. And spoiler alert, it's actually surprisingly good. So we need to look a little bit into what we can do. So what we're going to do up here is we are going to be starting by looking at, a science build. We're going to be making a science build for blue science. Oops, that's going to be blue science, and it's going to be legendary. And we're going to be putting in some of this. So let's do a design that is not unlike what we've done before. Here. And these two, and then we'll see how much that is. That is 19.25. So I think I'm allowed to just call that. That's 20, which means we'll need 2 of these spaceships if we can even deliver all of this. So now counting backwards, then we see we need to make 14.4 legendary red circuits, and we need to make 4.8 legendary sulfur. So let's break that down and try to figure out what that would take. I'm going to put this inside of the beacon area so we get a sense of how fast it's going to be, and that is legendary. Good. So now this one is producing over on the right hand side, or if I do that, you'll actually see this pop up, and then it says it produces 4.9. Funny that it's 4.8. It's a rounding thing. But anyway, it's more than the 14.4 that we are needing here. So that means we need to start looking at this and saying, okay, so copper coils, that's easy, that's just from copper, and electronic circuits, that's also easy, that's iron and copper, so those are not really going to be an issue. But we need to make 10 legendary plastic up here. So we're going to be working on legendary plastic, and well, it would be nice if we could do the shuffle, right? The LDS shuffle that we have down here, that one. That would mean that we would have legendary coal. So this would be nice, but it's not unfortunately possible, because what happens is that it would need to get the liquid molten iron and copper, and since we can't really get that in space, that's not an option. So we're gonna have to build it the old-fashioned way, unless we're gonna be importing things. But the whole point of building things in space is that we do not import things. We want to make it self-sufficient in all regards. Otherwise, we would just import the red circuits and the sulfur. But that is not what we want to do. So we now have some metrics we want to get. We want to get 10.8 plastic and 4.8 legendary coal. So if the easy one is just going to be here. That one. This. Good. How fast are you? Not fast enough. Put a beacon and throw the rest of it out. Good. Sulfur is fixed. That's easy. So we just need some carbonic asteroid chunks, legendary carbonic asteroid chunks, which we get from here. And then we have all we need. So we don't need to care about sulfur. We need to care about plastic. So let's count backwards and look at plastic to figure out how that's going to be made. Plastic, legendary, good. Legendary plastic is super efficient. It is 1 coal coming in and then 8 plastic going out. So what we're really looking for here is it's 1.25 plastic or coal going inbound to this. So it's not really that much, but there's also a need for petroleum gas. So we're going to use the coal first, which is interesting because it's kind of the same as that one. We're going to be taking you and making sort of a dedicated build. Let's see, we can this here, and I will be able to process this because it doesn't have to fit the ratio when we put it into rocket production. We don't want to put productivity modules here because then it screws up the ratio, but here we want as much coal outbound as possible. So with this build we should be fine, and the reason I'm doing this is this will actually not be the correct ratio because I am producing Each production here is 5 carbon, 2 sulfur. Each production is 5 carbon, 1 sulfur. So we have twice as much sulfur as we need. So either we sort of throw away the sulfur or we supplement with something else. And that would be the easy thing, would be just supplementing with this part here. So that we get additional coal or additional carbon coming in. And that's going to be the ratio. So this one also needs a module as usual. And then we look at this ratio. It looks pretty good. I am going to say that this one is going to be constrained in some regards. This one should only be available when you're going to be looking at including the crafting, and you're going to be only importing here when this is less than, I don't know, 10, maybe 5 or something, maybe 5, I don't know, something like that. Because I don't want this one that's producing purely carbon to fill up, so that carbon gets stuck here, and therefore it can't produce more because the sulfur is not produced and because it's full of carbon. So I need to make sure that this is top one is always running, and then it's being supplemented with additional carbon from here. But that is a little unit, and let's have a look at how much it's producing. We have a measure that we say that oops, that one also needs to be legendarized. There we go. That means we are now getting. Yeah, of course there's a huge surplus here. If we just did this, that would be still a surplus. Okay, so you are okay, you're going to be working all the time. 14.8. Okay, so 14.8 is what you're producing. Let's keep that in mind and just shunt you over to the side. 14.8 is this little working, but for this we really don't need much, right? That was needed 1. This was almost enough. If I just put that over here, then we'll just see like the absurdity of this. Yeah, okay, a little bit too much. So anyway, we definitely we want to put this in a beacon, but we don't need it for the full beacon. But it's also nice to know that we need 1 for red circuits, 1 for plastic, and then we need get some petroleum. Now we don't. The only way we can get petroleum is through coal liquefaction. So now we sort of move back the step and say, okay, we can sort all of those things out. We now have legendary coal, which we need for legendary plastic, but we do not have the petroleum we need. And we can, of course, use the legendary coal to make petroleum, but that would be really silly. So let's just use normal petroleum to make that, which means that we're going to be doing like basically a copy of this. Okay, let's not make it here. But this one will be non-legendarized. There, and that one. And you're going to be also non-legendary there. And you're going to be non-legendary as well. That one. Good. So this is not legendary and is now producing 4.8. So let's keep that in mind and then work on this one from a perspective of an oil refinery. So let's look at an oil refinery and try to figure out here. Right, and it also needs a beacon. Of course, it does need a beacon. Oops. Let's make it sort of in the middle here. That one. And how much are you consuming? You can consume 34 normal plastic, but it's going to be running at half capacity, or this one will double. Let's assume that it's working somewhat at half capacity. That means we get a surplus here. Then we need to go through the parts here. That one will be something like this, maybe. You're going to be doing this here. And again, beacon and... there. Does that look correct? You're going to go up here. And that means this area and this one will be flipped. And then I'm going to put a pump in here just to make sure that it always pumps in and this is full, so that it always retains this. It shouldn't be necessary with the new fluid system. I just like having a little bit of buffer here just in case. And then we need water outbound, so I guess water is actually going to be really easy as well, because water is now just to hook it up to any point here. Then we got it, and we get that, and we get that, and there's our design. So this part here, I'm kind of building 2 of these because I know that I'm going to need 2 of these. And you can see that there's a little surplus of both things, which is nice, but it also produces 600 and something. So I think that if we round this down, we're going to be saying, like, if we get 34 inbound, then we get 600 outbound. Maybe even to the point where we say if you get 30 inbound, we get 600 outbound. So that's a good sort of baseline, which means that if this one is producing 15, then we can basically say this is running at half capacity, or we can double this. But we're now looking at a total of 600 if we double the coal production, or about 300. So let's compare that in here. This one is consuming about 600, and 30 legendary, that's a lot. That's twice as much as we can make. This is twice as much as we can make. And then it produces like a 220 times as much as we need, because this one is needing about 10, and this is there. So clearly we don't need that much. I can actually make it a lot smaller. We're going to be taking one of these. So this is basically all the ingredients we need. Of course, there's also a little bit of extra here. This one will be a green circuit, green legendary circuit, and we'll also have a, I don't know, somewhere over here, I guess, somehow. And this one will be legendary that. And they both need productivity modules so that they get going. Can that keep up? Not quite, but they throw in a beacon and everyone's got to be happy. So, whew, what a mess. Now, let's see if we can sort of build the coal liquefaction into plastic as a little unit that is off to the side, because it's just going to be leaching on this belt, and then we can sort of feed it in, so we know that, okay, here's a design, a module that you can put into your ship, which makes petroleum, because you might also need it for, and this is an interesting prospect, if we look at this part here, if we are getting normal, if we want normal sulfur, I don't know why you want, but if you want normal sulfur, let's say this module is producing 600, then that is basically 120 sulfur outbound. Interestingly enough, 120 sulfur for the cost of 2 of these modules. So if I had 2 of these modules, if we look at it, that is actually producing 50 sulfur. So it surprisingly is that if you want sulfur in space, it's not actually this process. It's better to take this process, put it into coal, make the coal into petroleum, make the petroleum into sulfur, because there are many steps with productivity, and with legendary productivity modules you actually get more sulfur, 2.4 times as much sulfur, which is kind of insane. I don't know why you'd want sulfur in space in those quantities, but hey, now you know. So let's see if we can hack this together somehow. So this is a nice little module that we've squeezed in here with a little bit of water. Everything is fine. It's just filling up the water here, and it just looks perfect. There's just one little thing that I forgot. Steam. Steam is a problem in space, because if we look at steam, how can you make steam? You can make it in 3 different ways. You can make it with acid neutralization, but this requires a pressure that is higher than what we have. So if we just so that people don't say it, I'm even going to do 2 of these, and then doesn't work. Acid neutralization does not work. So that is not an option. That means we have 2 options left, and that is the 2 options here. That is this one, the boiler. Doesn't work. You're starting to see a problem. And this one, oops, there. And the other one, heat exchanger. Does that work? Yes, heat exchangers actually work. Let's get a legendary. Right, so legendary heat exchanger makes 258 steam per second, and this one, in the best of cases, needs 170. So we need one of these. Great. So how can we get the heat? Because now we need some heat. Well, the logical thing is, of course, how do we... this one doesn't have a recipe, so we just need to make heat. Well, heating towers are excellent for that. Can't be made here. So the only other way to make heat is a nuclear reactor. That means in order to get steam in orbit in space, you actually need to have a nuclear reactor. That's surprising. Surprising to say the least. But it is unfortunately a necessity. And that means we need to also cater for that, which means I can do that here. I can get you in here. And then I can get you maybe somewhere I'd really like this water. Oh, it just jumps over that part. Damn. I'm just thinking about where I could get some water from. I can get it from here, but that's kind of silly. Then I'd have to go around the space here and then get that in here. Okay, so that's the water. And then the nuclear power plant, which obviously does not need to be like this, but there. But that means we need to get nuclear uranium energy and uranium fuel in here just to get the heating, just to get this one going. It's kind of silly, but I don't know what else to do. So we're also going to get this purely here, that one. It's going to come in. And then I need to figure out a way for this to go somewhere. So I could build this close, but then I'd have to get the drag the heat pipes down here. Or I could put this one close and then I have to drag the steam pipes down there, which might be easier. So, but it's kind of interesting how that is a necessity to get that done. So I think I'll get that closer, and then I'm gonna get you closer as well, here, and then just drag the steam pipes because I have water here, and this water is probably fine. There we go. So we get water in here, fine, and then we get the steam out, which I then have to drag the steam back here to this location. Good. And we also got the heat pipes, which I now don't need. There. So I need to drag the steam down here, which is annoying, but it's not impossible. So that was just something I did not really think of that I would need as well. But once we have that, we have a nice little block here over hidden in the corner, and all it does is it makes some petroleum. It doesn't make any petroleum just yet because I do not have any. I don't have the Kickstarter, so we're going to be kickstarting it like this. And then the beautiful thing is that we can just, as long as we have him on here, then we should be able to just get that kicked off. Yes, and then it's the steam. So let's start seeing if we can get the steam in here. Okay, it's heating up and we are getting close to 500 degrees, and steam is pumping in through this annoying belt or pipe. Let's see if that's going to be turns out to be a problem or not. But hey, we got this, and it's just slowly increasing. That's great. It's using a lot of stuff, but that means we now have the petroleum available. What do we need the petroleum for? We don't actually need to stockpile it, so maybe don't do that because we just need to build it into this part for now, at least. So I could build it like this, and then just know that at this point, not really at this point, to be honest. This will also need some coal, so this should be extended towards another build. This build here, which is coal focused. This one is, oh, that's just never working because it's filtered on that. You have lots of coal, and you, yeah, it's stalled out because it was saying it's when it's less than that, and it will always be less than that because it doesn't have any of it. So let's try and see if we can get it to work. So now this is prevented from inputting, and you will get there. So let's see. Okay, so this is perfect. This is perfect. This one is working good, and this will also need the part. So we need to incorporate these builds together into a single build, and then we can use that for exporting plastic to the next build, which will then be a build that goes into the red circuits. But the red circuits will then be easy to go in here. Whew, that's a lot of stuff. So let's hack it together. We got all the things. Oh, right. There's one thing we don't have, and that's actually, there's another little thing here, and that's 9 of these engine units per second, which is also going to be an interesting little design challenge here. So let's see how fast they're going to be building like that. And if you put a beacon on, let's see how fast it is. It's probably not very fast. It is about half the speed that we need. So I guess it'll do something like this, and then that should be fine. Yes, 11. So getting these two together, we're actually getting enough. And then, yeah, legendary, of course. Legendary, always. That one. All right, so now that is a little surplus here of that, which means we now count backwards. Intermediate steel. we need gears, we need pipes, we need copper plates. All right, that's a lot of stuff that needs to be done here. I don't think I have enough room, but we'll squeeze. Here we are, we have built something, and what it is, I don't know. I hope it works. I have not tried it, but I think I've taken care of all the things that I should take care of, which obviously otherwise I would have taken care of it. So let's pass through what the hell this damn thing is. Let's start with the blue science here. So we have the blue science as we designed it up here, 19.25, and if I include this part, then we can see we have a little surplus. Oh, that's not really what I wanted. This one, there is a little surplus of engines. So that's good. Engines are in a really intricate pattern here, which I absolutely love. You can see that this is way over beaconed, but it goes directly in, and it comes from these two lines out here. It's not really going to need very much, so it's not going to be a problem with these two long-handed inserters. Then this belt will be steel, which comes from iron into steel, go out here. And the iron goes out here. So that will be a combined iron and steel belt. The iron goes into the pipes, the gears and the pipes, and then the steel goes into the engines together with the gears and pipes. So that should work. It looks really nice. And that just means that all of this part needs a belt here, which needs sulfur and red circuits. I can see that I haven't done red circuits yet. So that's going to be another little thing that we need to do. And there we get the iron coming in. So let me just see. I did kind of find where it was. So I have this one here. Oh, perfect. You're going to be the reds. And that will be, let's see, right-hand side in the direction of travel. That means this is perfect. And that means you are going to be actually more like that. That should mean that they go out on different sides. The red one comes in on the right-hand side, lower side, and goes whoop, up here. Could I shift the whole thing one up? Then it'll get into trouble with that, so not really. Could I get it from here? No, it'll still be... It'll have to get all the way over here. Anyway, so let's trace it back and say sulfur is another thing. This is just going to go from here. This is way over beaconed, but that's fine. I will send out all the legendary carbon and just throw it out. No need for that at all. I could sort of try feeding it in here, and then it'll sort of have to be another kind of balancing, and I really don't want to do that. So it is actually not a bad idea to try to say the stuff here that gets it's overdone should be going down here to be like excess, because that means we probably don't need this. Damn. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I can't really figure that out. Let's see. It might be an issue, right? What we then have is all the petroleum part over here, which feeds into the plastic. The plastic gets combined with legendary carbon, legendary coal, which comes from this little bit here. And this little bit here that makes the coal. So that goes coal into that. Then gets the plastic into the reds. Reds gets combined with, oh, that green needs to go over here to that green. There. I don't know. That's a thing. I don't need. If I look at this part, I'm producing 14.8. Let's call it 15. And if I look at the amounts, then it's about 11 here, and that means I need 11. And this one is producing 180, but it's about a third of what we go in here is going to be iron. So if I only need 11, then it's less than 4 iron per second. So very low iron quantities coming from here. That's why we're taking it on this belt, and then that should be fine. This part is also like way overscaled. I need 21, plus I also need some in here. That should be turned the other way. There we go. And that needs some copper, which I'm going to go for here. So copper goes in, and this should not import unless there is a drought of carbon on this belt. These should be here, because this might steal all of the carbonic or the metallic asteroids, and therefore this will never get started. That means a lot of iron will be made, and it's all good, and all these buffers fill up, but it will never get to the one that actually has to be. So I want to build it forward, but the problem about changing the sequence of these two is that if I change the sequence of that, then the priority, this has to be put out in the belt before the other one. So I could maybe try changing it. I'll just give it a shot to see if what that would look like if I change this part. Go something like this, and then that would be you going over here, and then that. But now the issue is that this will pick up from the belt first. That's good, but this one here, the pure one, which should only be topping up, will be put out on the belt first. So the only thing I can do that to prevent that is to do a monitor on the belt and then say you're not going to be allowed to output unless there is a drought of that less than 20, because that's really basically nothing. Okay, I think we want to turn it on. It's not going to work very well because we are stuck here on Novice, so we're going to need to also fly out. Let's actually just fly back and forth while we do that. It's flying. Good. So we are going to start collecting a lot more. Come on, let's start collecting. Good. Let's fire it up and wish for the best. Please work. These are just reprocessing. We are getting some sulfur. Oh man, I hate that that's going to be thrown out. I really hate it. I think I need to go that. Okay. And there's not a lot of carbonic that comes in here. Why not? Because that is not the legendary one. Oops. There we go. Now that comes out. There we go. And that should also get into here. Getting the copper. Copper is going to go in here. You are not correct because you're not legendarized. This is the kind of thing that I knew was going to happen. Unlegendarized, this is now working. And it goes in here. Gets some red circuits. Yes, red circuits. Go in. Look at that. Something is working. All right. Okay. Okay. That's surprising. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but it is. I'm a little bit surprised. And these ones are filling up. Go out here. This one is stuck. That's good. So anything that comes in will go over here. This might be an issue that it's filling up the iron first. No, the copper, the steel will just be saturated really soon. So that should also be fine. The one thing though, which one is not working? Like this one's not working, but no, it is actually working. It should be working almost all the time. It should actually be working pretty much full time for it to actually build. This is not working. Oh. No, this is working. Okay, this is actually working. So you're going to be stuck here. And it only allows to put out when... Actually, it's a little bit too little here. This one should be more like 50. Because I really wanted to have something on the belt. Yeah, there we go. That's good. Because this should be working all the time if it can. And it is right now working all the time if it can. So that it will fill up this. This is saturated. These should be saturated as well. They are. And these ones are just working. The engine blocks are working at full speed all the time. That's perfect. I really like it. I really like it a lot. The only thing that is like a question is that one. And therefore also this one. You are holding back. You are just... Are you stuck? No, you're not stuck. You're just waiting for more carbonic asteroids to come in. Yeah. So right now you can see that we have a lot of this. It's 45. And that's the one we get the most of. 47. It's 48. And then 49. And then the carbonic ones are unfortunately going in here first. I think I want to try to move this past here. Let's do that instead. At least try. Alright, so minor adjustments. Now we're not wasting any more of this carbon unless we actually have to. And the way I've done it is I'm putting it out on the belt. This belt goes down here. And then there's a monitor on this belt that says how much it's there. If there's more than 200 of the legendary carbon, then you're allowed to just throw it out here. Perfect. But if not, then you just keep buffer of 200 here. So that's works. Then I've also found out that all of the sulfur or all of the carbonic asteroids here will be picked up by the sulfur until the belt fills up. So I built a little logic here that says monitor this belt. This belt will contain legendary sulfur and legendary red circuits. And then basically saying you are going to pick up if there's less sulfur than red circuits. And you're going to be picking up if there's less... Oh, actually that would be funny. It has to be equal to a more. And this one has to be equal to a more. Otherwise I am screwing myself over. So basically whichever has least or even, then will be active, which means I sort of balance out so that at least something is working, so I don't sort of build up a big storage of sulfur before I even get started on making some red circuits. So right now you can see, yes, red circuit is active. Now there's more red circuits on the belt. Now the next one here is active. And unfortunately, as we can see, we're just not getting enough carbonic asteroids. I hope that it could get better, but honestly, I don't think it can get any better than this. So it's probably just a matter of I have overscaled the production compared to how much I can get of legendary asteroids. I'm also hoping that when I saturated all this, then it would just start converting a lot of the carbonic ones, or sort of the metallic ones, into other, which could be carbonic, and that's what we're seeing here. And this is activating once in a while. It's okay. It's actually down to 34. I guess there was a little batch being taken out, but that just keeps flowing, and yeah, that works. So this actually works really well. It just doesn't work quite as well as I'd hoped. It doesn't produce quite the amount of blue science that I'd hoped. But you know, as always with these kind of things, they are completely independent. So we can just make more of them. And yes, you just need to get a little bit. But we are getting a little bit of legendary blue science. And going back and forth, we will be able to drop that off. It's certainly not at all the 20 that I was hoping for, because you can see that these are basically idle all the time, and we would need like a way bigger ship, like 3, 4, 5, 10 times bigger, in order to get the processing going fast enough for this, because it is quite a lot of quite a lot that it's being requested here. So you can see like there, a little blitz goes out every time this crafts. It makes 2 sulfur, and then times productivity, which was, what is it, 260 now. Yay, 260. Yay, we need to focus on this. We want to get that to 300. That's going to be a while, but we want to get it to 300 so we can get the maximum possible. So that is going to be a blueprint for today. That's going to be designed. This means that we now have figured out a way to make, pretty simple, this part down here. This is making petroleum in space. Then I'm making plastic in space. Legendary plastic in space is this part. And then we make it into red circuits. Oops. And over here we got the blue circuits. So what we can do is make a little bit of the same, but also, unfortunately, a lot more complicated for the yellow sides in space, because it's not engines, it's robot frames, and it's not red circuits, it's blue circuits. And on top of that is LDS, which is incredibly hungry. So I don't think it really makes sense to make a spaceship that makes yellow signs, except from the perspective of it's fun, which I think is also a good argument. But I don't think that this template can actually work very well for that. But you know, maybe we could make it just a little bit, and then just have many of those ships going. I definitely want a few more of these ships to go. So this ship will be available, of course, as a finished design for patrons. If you are a patron supporter, then you can grab that. I hope it was inspiring to see that we can actually make oil in space, and it actually is not completely useless to do that. So thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.